Hi, I just want to share some of my thoughts today, that is 1st February 2023. Lots of things are changing across the world. To me, it appears everything is on constant change. I don't need to say, if you look at the last 1 week's newspapers, what are all the changes that are occurring in the society, in the countries, in corporate sector, everywhere. So I ask myself this question: what is the relevance of what we considered so far as human resource function? Is there a new role? Should they relaunch themselves? Should they look at themselves? Is it necessary at all? Should we need HR people at all in corporations? If we need, what is the role that they are playing? I have always maintained in the recent past, last about 5 to 10 years, that everyone is his or her own HR manager. You have to manage your own HR. That means learning. You have to manage your own talent. You have to bring out what is inside you. So when you become your own HR manager, what is the function of a HR department? I want to argue both ways. For example, recruitment. I think when people are not staying in companies for too long, you don't know when you are likely to retrench those very people you have recruited. Not even issue appointment letters for numbers of them and later throw up your hands and say we are changing. So the meaning of recruitment, that is identifying talented people with the assumption that they will be available to work for a long term in the company, induct them into the culture when they are not sure whether the company is going to exist and how long it is going to exist. So what is the point of induction programs? Performance appraisals have gone haywire. If you look at performance appraisals today, bell curve, I think for which we argued for long years against, people have realized it doesn't always work. In fact, I think every day becomes a day for good performers. And I think people are talking about daily evaluation, weekly evaluation, monthly evaluation. I think quarterly evaluation to daily evaluation seem to have become the norm, because you never know when the axe will fall on whom, and when the company will decide to downsize, or when the company will decide to change hands, or when the company will decide to get into new areas and things of that kind. I think, to me, this is real VUCA. But having said all this and raised the question, do we need HR at all? I want to argue that yes, we do need people to manage corporations, even if it is for one day. Let us assume you are a corporation who are living on daily existence. At the end of the day, you have to. Fortunately, most companies exist more than for a day. They exist for weeks, months, and even years. So we don't have to start with the assumption companies will exist only for days. But having said that, it is very important that companies should keep performing every day, so that the image they have built for themselves or image they are building for themselves is constantly on improvement. That is an important reason why you have got to be managing yourself. So if you ask me what is the role of HR department, HR department is constantly be in search of avenues to make each person perform. So you become a supporter of performance. You are a performance manager. You are a daily performance manager. Now, if there are thousands of employees, you can't do it for all. You probably will have to do it for a few. Now it is up to you, if depending upon the number of HR people that you have, you will have to work out a strategy of helping people to improve their own performance. And your compensation would obviously dependent upon how much value addition you have done. How much because of you people are performing better. I think some of these may be hypothetical, some of them may be real. But a good job of HR manager is to help people to give their best to the company, give 100% to the organization on a day-to-day kind of a basis. We don't know what mechanisms HR people can use, but I think HR people need to constantly search for mechanisms where they can enable people. But to be able to enable people to give their best, you probably need to identify those people who are suitable, who have skills, who can deliver immediately, not waiting for several months of induction, training, skill development, etc. to deliver. I think you need to get, and that is where HR becomes useful. That means HR has got to be skilled in identifying skill requirements and enabling people to give their best on a day-to-day kind of a basis. Now, the issues like career planning, potential appraisal, training and development, to a large extent, to me, have become little less meaningful today to be handled by HR, because these are all the things that the managers themselves will handle. For long years, I have argued. When I say long years, I think for the first 20 years after we started the HR department, we talked of career coaching, career counseling, and so on. But subsequently, in the last 15, 20 years, I've been arguing that HR cannot coach or counsel the career of any people, because an employee has always more information than what the HR has. So it is only self-coaching. All that you can do is to give information to the individual and to the company by maintaining good people-related, talent-related information systems, so that both the company as well as the individuals and teams are enabled to have good match of their competencies, of their skills and the job requirements, and by ensuring the match perform better and make a difference in their lives and the lives of the organization. So some of the systems we talked of, therefore, are now passed on to the individual. Training and development now becomes continuous learning, continuous skill development. All that an organization can do is, if there are gaps that are there because performance is not happening, identify the gaps or help the individual to identify the gaps, and not organize necessarily the training. Leave it for the individual. Even if you want to organize training, all that you can do is to make avenues available for the individual. So therefore, friends, I think HR's role is in for sea change, because the world of work is changing. Stability has gone off. There are many positives in this kind of a constantly changing environment. One of the big positives is people are pushed to search within themselves and identify talent in a variety of situations. So bring out your talent, look for opportunities, keep trying. Do not start with the assumption that I'm good at this, I'm not good at this, and things of that kind. It doesn't mean that you should not have your preferences. You should have your preferences. So HR's role, therefore, is to create an environment of constant learning. It's only the single most important objective of HR is to turn organizations into learning organizations and individuals into constantly learners. And that is where I think I maintain once again what I have said a few days ago. HR has now got to be a lot more spiritual function. You have to deal with the spirit of the individuals and use a lot of your heart and touch the hearts of people. Besides, of course, I'm not saying therefore you don't use your head. I think you should constantly be using the head, but I think you need to be using a lot more of your heart and touch the emotions of people and motivate them and help them to give best and help them to enjoy. So a lot is in the hands of HR people, but quite unlike the past, I don't want to say that HR should be target driven. HR is not to be target driven. HR needs to be people driven, human driven, talent management driven, and I think this is going to be the single most important focal point of HR. You can work out all kinds of designs, but as long as you understand it is HR people who call themselves HR professionals, who have a additional responsibility of creating the learning environment, the corporations, I think then we will do a good job. Having said this, I would also say I think everyone who is listening to this short talk should, irrespective of whether you carry HR title or finance title, marketing title, logistics title or IT title, whatever title that you carry, or an entrepreneur, self-governed person, a government employee, etc., whatever you are, I think you are your own learning manager, and I call it as talent developer and HR manager. Please remember, do not depend on anyone to do your HR, your talent identification, your talent multiplication. It is only you who can do this All that HR can do is probably do a periodic review of how people are progressing in a corporation and help organization to create a learning culture. I think that is the new role. I think it is high time that we shed the traditional roles, administrative roles, and a whole lot of other things that we are saying, and leave the organization to constantly make policies and keep changing their policies. As I mentioned long ago, today every individual needs a separate policy, himself or herself. So when every individual needs a HR policy, where is the question of having a uniform policies? Because the world is diverse, world needs to have a lot of needs to face a lot of other kind of issues, and the world also has become smart, and therefore I would appeal to all my HR friends that please relook at your role and do not stick to a HR role for life. I think there is a lot more in life than to just keep doing the same thing, same way in which you are recruiting, you are doing your diagnostic studies, assessment centers, performance appraisals, etc., etc. It's high time you move out of this and start looking at people as people and enable them to grow and develop themselves. I hope these are offhand thoughts. I'm quite touched by what's happening across the world in all sectors, in health sector, education sector, in industry, in the government, in share market, everywhere. And that is the reason why I thought I must warn all my HR friends. It is time to get going, to constantly discover new ways of impacting people. I hope I am making some sense. Please give your comments after view this video on YouTube. Please do not forget to make comments because I'm also learning from you all. Thank you very much.